So today we're going to be looking at an artist called Monet, and we're going to be using his artwork to inspire our very own pictures on the Fire of London.
Monet was a French painter and one of the founders of Impressionism. Impressionism was an art movement where artists would express what they see and how they see it. Artists would use lots of small brush strokes, and Monet would often be seen painting outside. Monet was fascinated by light, reflections, waters and rays of sun. He would often paint the same scene at different times in the day or in different seasons. If you look really carefully and we zoom in, you can see all the brushstroke marks within his painting. This is a painting by Monet of the Houses of Parliament, and it reminds me of the Fire of London. So we're going to use some of his pictures as inspiration to create our very own pictures. So for this lesson you're going to need some black A3 paper or card, different size paintbrushes and some red and orange paint. So I'm going to start with my thicker brush first, and we're going to be making small marks, a bit like Monet, and we're going to completely cover our black piece of paper. Now it doesn't matter if I leave gaps in between, and if I pick up too much paint I'm going to pick it up and place it elsewhere. So I just pick up where there is too much paint and we're going to push it around a bit. So lots of small marks. In some areas I might build it up a bit more, so I'm going to put a bit more red on this side, more marks together, right to the edge of my paper. And now I'm going to create some orange for the fire. So we're going to get all these different colours coming through. So I'm mixing my yellow and red together, and then I'm going to add some orange on top of my red. So the same marks again. Make sure you're holding your paintbrush like a pencil. So now I've added my red and my orange, I'm going to start adding some yellow on this side. Now we're going to switch our paintbrush for a thinner paintbrush, so I get thinner lines on top. So I've got those nice thick lines underneath, and then we're building up another layer of thin lines on top. And when I'm happy with that, I'm going to start adding some thinner lines now of red and orange elsewhere. So I'm going to go back to my red and I'm going to build that up. And then back to my orange, I'm going to put some more orange down the middle. And when that's finished, we need to leave that to dry for next week. So now it's time for us to design some buildings to go on top of our fiery scene, and we're going to use Monet's pictures to help us, as well as pictures people have drawn of the Fire of London. So we're going to be creating two designs today, one on the top of our page and one on the bottom. And I'm going to be using this picture to inspire my design. So I'm going to start by putting a line across the middle of my page. Then I'm going to look carefully at my pictures, thinking about the shapes of the buildings, and start to add them in. We don't want too much detail because these are going to be almost like a silhouette, a shadow. We're going to be painting them in black on top of our fiery scenes that we've created today. So look at the buildings in the pictures of your source material and think about what shapes you're going to use to create them. I might add some archways or maybe a few windows. When you finish your first design, you're going to move on to the second design. Now you want to be thinking about what you can do to improve on your first design. Now my first design looks a bit plain and a bit boring, there's not a lot going on. So I've chosen a different picture now, and I'm going to try to see what happens if I add a few more buildings and a few more shapes. And once you've done that, we're going to start shading in our buildings, thinking about different tones. So I'm going to have some lighter tones and some darker tones. Now when we shade, we use the side of our pencil, we don't use the top, and we shade lightly. We don't press hard like this, we press nice and lightly, nice and gently. Our pencil's gliding across the paper, almost like we're brushing it gently. So make sure as well that you go both ways. So I've gone up and down, and then I've turned around and I've gone side to side. So in the middle, I'm going to use a darker 6B pencil, and I'm going to press a little bit harder now, so I get a nice dark tone in the middle for my archway. And what I can do is use my finger to blend those together. So I'm going to move on to my towers now. So again, nice and lightly, brush the paper like you're stroking it carefully, and then I'm going to turn my page around to make it easier, and then I can go side to side and shade in the other direction. So these buildings, I'm going to try and make them a darker tone so they stand out against the other buildings. Creates nice depth within my picture. When you finish your first one, move on to your second one and really think about those tones.